Tonchi Boneswear and welcome to the Serfs fam. I'm your friendly neighborhood Lance, and you're probably here to watch the second half of the Tim Pool debate, the Electric Boogaloo Beanie 2 Beaniedome. I did not think this one through very well. Either way, if you would like to skip right to the debate and not hear a bunch of L's I'm about to take, I would go to this time right now in the video. But if you do want to stick around and let me confess, I guess profess in a way, to all the big L's that I took in this debate, so you're in for a treat. I'm about to reveal all of the moments that I was a soy snowflake cucked by the mind virus of the indomitable Tim Pool and his beanie. Because yes, while I think I actually did pretty good in that first debate with him, it's like anything else, there's probably a handful of things that you think you did well, but at the end of the day, there's some things that you did wrong. And I'll just say this, I have watched the majority of, let's say, good faith criticisms of the debate, of which I really appreciate good faith criticisms and feedback, and I agree with a lot of the points that people have raised, and there's a bunch of stuff that I can improve on. So good news, I'm not trying to become the next debate bro, or debate lord, or lord of edge, or whatever they're called these days. Ultimately, this is just about me thinking that I, as a public figure, should be able to vocalize and advocate in real time a lot of the things I talk about, rather than saying in my safe space echo chamber that is the wonderful world of my social media and the various communities that I've built around lefty activism, entertainment, and comedy from a lefty progressive perspective and dumpster fire aesthetic. So after watching a whole bunch of different critiques of the debate, of course, the ones in good faith I genuinely appreciate and think that they did a really good job of explaining a handful of things that I too agree with that I could have improved, and here's a few of them right now. Now, the clip that a lot of the right wing is sharing is related to me talking about whether or not I think a pregnant woman has a right to do crystal meth, and whether or not I think that it is appropriate for women to have abortions in the 9th month of pregnancy. This was obviously a very frustrating conversation to have because of how masturbatory this exercise is when it happens to be a topic that I don't think really occurs in the real world. If a woman is having an abortion at the 9th month, most likely it's more akin to a medical procedure to save the life of the mother. This is obviously something that's incredibly difficult. Not being someone who can never give birth, I won't know, but having listened to friends who've gone through similar things, or even women who have experienced miscarriages, the loss of a child when you want to have one is obviously a devastating thing. And I think it's kind of a masturbatory exercise to discuss what women should do if they decide they want to have an abortion in the 9th month, because again, if someone is having any kind of procedure at that point in a pregnancy, most likely it is because it threatens the life of the mother. Now this brings me to Tim Pool eventually saying, do you think it's okay, you know, my body, my choice, if women who are pregnant decided to smoke crystal meth? I should have been very clear on this in that, A, I can be morally opposed to a decision that someone makes, but that doesn't mean that I think they should have their bodily autonomy taken away from them. So I can be opposed to the idea of a woman who is pregnant smoking crystal meth. At the same time, yes, it is still her body, her choice, and I don't think that there should be an intervention from the state or me as a man in order to prevent her from making decisions about her own bodily autonomy.
Looks like you're choking on a big fat L.
What I really wish I had said, and this is one of the things I was kicking myself for afterwards, is the fact that I don't think Tim Pool really drinks that much. It did seem like a bit of a dry house when I was there, and that means that Tim Pool has inside his body a juicy, viable kidney. And I wanted to bring up the fact that, Tim, if you have a viable kidney and it could save a life, should the state have the power to force you to preserve life, because that's what this is ultimately about for you, to be able to take that kidney out of you, to donate it to someone who needs it in order to, again, save a life in the process.
Yeah, but you didn't, so now you take another.
The second big L I want to take is that while I was discussing this with Tim Pool, him and his colleagues didn't really want to accept the idea of meta-studies, basically a comprehensive analysis of other peer-reviewed studies when it came to detransitioning. Now, I did bring up a meta-study of which I think is very important, one that covers 27 other studies, peer-reviewed, that covers 7,928 trans people who were interviewed in a variety of different countries, and in this comprehensive study, it showed that there was a less than 1% detransition rate amongst those who underwent any form of gender-affirming care. I also ended up bringing up a literature review by Cornell University that looked at 55 different studies related to, again, detransition rates, and found that 51 of them showed that there was a low rate of detransition, less than 5%, and amongst those 51 studies, that there was, of course, benefits to gender-affirming care. Of the 4 other studies that were looked at, there was neutral results in those, meaning that there was no studies that showed there was negative effect from receiving gender-affirming care. However, that's not a meta-study itself, that's a literature review, so I should have been more clear about that.
Yet another L you can't even deep throat.
All that being said, I was pretty satisfied with how the trans debate worked out, and after that portion of the debate, basically I thought the entire thing was done. Well, it turns out there was the after hours pay-per-view special. Now, I'm just going to state a couple things. This is going to be edited, and it's not because I want to be deceptive in how this all went, but it's because at the end of the day, I want to basically be operating under the terms of fair use and introduce certain clips to you and explain to you what you're about to see, why things went down the way they did, and then if you really want to and you want to watch the full unedited clip, unfortunately, you'll have to go I'm also going to be blurring out the chat in the corner because at the end of the day, those are Tim Pool's fans and Tim Pool's chat, and I don't think that I have a right to be able to publish the things that they were saying publicly on this channel if they didn't want that to be a part of it. And I just want to say that obviously because this is the After Hours show, things do get a little spicier. You're allowed to swear, and we do talk about a lot of sexual topics, so those are things that you don't think you're going to be comfortable with in any way, shape, or form. I would skip the second debate. However, if you are ready to see the second battle in the Beaniedome, without further ado, I introduce Beaniedome 2, Electric, I still haven't thought of a clever name here, Boogaloo. So this first part of the debate I'm going to show you is related to the gender bathroom debate.
Intentionally for the entire time we've had single sex spaces for bathrooms. And I will add that you mentioned earlier, Lance, that most of the people who are assaulting women in bathrooms are cisgendered men.
Yep.
I don't know how someone could possibly tell someone entering a woman's room that they're not actually a trans woman, because every person's experience is valid under trans ideology. And you mentioned earlier when even discussing these surgeries, well, it might be a more valid way of presenting as a woman if someone decides to have that surgery.
I want to stop you before you go too far, because you made a good point that needs to be directly addressed. The Wee Spa in California had a male, in LA, a male go into the women's locker room and expose himself. And when a female said, there's a man waving his penis around, they said it's a trans person, there's nothing we can do about it. As it turns out, it wasn't a trans person. It was actually a male sex offender who exposed himself to children. So this is Seamus's point, that with these policies, though I actually disagree, and I can explain in a second, you do end up with circumstances where biological cis men, males or whatever, go in and sexually assault women, but then are protected and allowed to keep doing it.
How are they protected? I'm just curious about that part.
The police and the spa refused to intervene to stop the assault.
Okay.
They were like, it's a trans woman, so we can't do anything. But then the cops later came and they're like, actually, that's a repeat sex offender who assaults women.
So it was a cis man?
Yes.
Yeah.
But the point is, how could you possibly tell if it's just about identity?
The cis men said they were trans, so they couldn't do anything about it.
Back to your original point, I think the solution to a lot of this would probably be we should stop having gendered bathroom stalls and we should develop individual stalls like you have here. And hold on, my wife is an architect. She's brought this up before. She was the first person to ever tell me, you don't gender your bathrooms at home, which makes sense, right? Why would you? Why would I say that one's for boys, that one over there is for girls?
Because you're not in public.
Yeah, that as well, right? But she's like, it's actually cost effective for you to do higher ceiling stalls, individual stalls for multiple buildings than our current like structures that we build.
They do that in Europe.
Yeah, they do. That's what they do in Europe. Why not just adopt that system? No more problems. We don't need to talk about this, you know?
If that's, hold on. I just want to respond to that. If that's something that could or would make sense as a cost-saving measure, I think it makes sense to look into it as a cost-saving measure. I don't think we should restructure the entire way that we have public restrooms for a very tiny minority who consider themselves to be trans-identified.
You look, man, whenever I go anywhere, I look for I use the all-gender bathroom. You know why? I lock the door, I hang my coat up, I take my keys to my wall, I place them on the counter. I don't got to worry about shit. I can't stand going into stalls and there's some dude farting up a storm and I got to put my phone on the toilet paper rack and shit. I'm like, this sucks. And then you put your coat up on the thing and on the back of the stall and some guy walks over and tries grabbing it. It's one of the biggest hustles in the world. So I understand your point. We don't do it based on how they look or anything. Yeah. But then we do have to recognize which bathroom is Buck Angel going to use.
But you also can't have a hot or not system.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And that's my point about you have to draw the line with sex. Now, obviously, you're not going to know everyone's sex when they're walking towards a bathroom, right?
But his hot or not position makes sense. If you can't have a hot or not system, then Buck Angel would just be a unattractive biological female.
Exactly.
From a male perspective.
But you don't genuinely believe that, do you? Like,
I
feel like you have to kind of do extra steps to start wrapping your head around the concept of Blair White is actually a man, because she's not.
No,
and you can see with your eyes, you know?
No.
Yeah, but Michael Malice
I think you have to do
her
a lot
at the urinal with his own eyes when we were over in Austin.
I think you have to do a lot of mental gymnastics to say that with enough surgery, a man can become a woman. I just don't believe that at all. I don't believe it. Well, it feels crazy to have to justify that position.
Let's try and make some ground. Like, I don't know if there's an argument from where you're both standing. Like, I understand what you're saying, but the issue is simply Buck Angel going into a women's room is going to result in women screaming and being like, "Help! There's a man in the women's room."
Yeah, he's a big muscular dude.
Yeah. And Blair White going into the men's room won't be the same thing. The guys will probably laugh and be like, "Whoa, what the fuck is this chick doing in here?" But either way, it causes social, oddities, I guess.
No, I hear what you're saying. Again, at bottom, I really do think that bathrooms should be segregated on the basis of sex. Now, is there going to be somebody waiting outside the bathroom as a security guard, ensuring that nobody who appears to be a woman or is dressing like a woman but is truly a man is going into the women's room? Well, obviously not, but you need to be able to say this person is clearly a man who's going into the women's room and not have someone say, well, you don't know their gender identity or they're wearing a dress.
Lance, did you see that story where the lesbian tried going into the women's room and the cop stopped her?
No.
So this is part of the problem, right? A lesbian human female woman who was tomboyish was barred from going into a bathroom, I think it was a McDonald's, by the police. And the cop was calling her sir. And she's like, I'm a fucking chick. I'm a woman. What the fuck? Like, that is crazy. So whether or not our moral position is A or B, there is a social issue at hand that needs to be resolved that isn't going to be simply resolved by one side demanding
but this is a social issue that was caused by the left, and so I'm not interested in left-wing solutions.
I'm saying if in the future we have a bathroom with 10 singular rooms, you can go in and close the door, then there's no issue at all.
Or like one room with 10 stalls. Was that what you were mentioning earlier?
That's what they were.
Architectural solution.
Yeah, it's more cost effective to actually build higher ceilings and then individual stalls, and then that would eliminate the problem. But I wanted to ask you, Seamus, when it comes to like the bathrooms thing, if, and you agree with this, the majority of offenders are cis heterosexual men.
I don't know if I agree with that. I haven't seen the studies.
Okay, sure. So say you agree with me in good faith.
Stats.
Sure, but just say you agree with me in good faith.
I will grant you it for the sake of argument.
Okay, so for the sake of argument, you agree that the majority of offenders who actually sexually assault women happen to be heterosexual men who are cis. If that's the case, then why wouldn't we put our focus on that to protect women than going after trans people when they're not the main people who commit those acts? And it also does a double thing of oppressing them.
Because there's no possible way to distinguish between a cisgender male predator and a person who is in good faith just trying to express their gender identity as someone who's trans.
Right,
if they walk into the bathroom and want to do something and they say, I'm a woman, how could you possibly say, no, you're a cisgendered male who's trying to offend?
Right, but my point being is, why shouldn't we raise awareness of the other one if we care about women? If we're all here, we're
I
in
do.
the circle.
I'm saying no one with a penis goes in the woman's room, ever.
So what if they had bottom surgery?
I would say if they have bottom surgery, that's too bad for them. I'm sorry that they did that to themselves. I would still not want them in the women's room.
Penis
I didn't say, no. I didn't say anyone who doesn't have a penis goes in the woman's room. I said no one with a penis goes in the woman's room.
What if
no one with a penis goes in the woman's room?
No one who's ever had a penis.
Okay, what if they?
But no, I said no one with a penis goes in the woman's room.
What if they have a large
penis?
What about a giant clit?
I think a giant clit's very different from a penis. I think those are two different things.
But they actually form into one or another in development.
But hold on, that's entirely different. I've never heard of a woman going into a woman's bathroom and then using her clit to rape somebody, dude.
Okay, but my point being, you see how ridiculous this all sounds?
Because it's a bad argument that you're making. That's why it sounds ridiculous.
No, because we shouldn't do this based on genitals. We shouldn't be like, how much penis do you have? No, that's too much penis for you to enter the bathroom.
So this next section of the debate is going to be discussing groomers and grooming. And I want you to pay particular attention to one very crucial aspect that I eventually got them to admit that this doesn't really have anything to do with what grooming is, like the actual term, where an adult is trying to coerce a child into having a sexual relationship with them, but it's actually more their concern and fear about the indoctrination of queer ideology, aka children becoming queer through exposure to things that are LGBTQ+. This is something I've thought for a very long time. They often talk about how they're worried about groomers or pedophiles and stuff. They're actually worried about children being exposed to LGBTQ+, quote, indoctrination, and they also view LGBTQ+ anything as inherently sexual.
Club Q had a grooming event, and we should stop the violence and prevent it.
Oh, shame on you.
Yeah, you were saying something about grooming earlier.
There's an academic paper
shame on you.
about trans pedagogy, which outright says the goal is to get glitter into the carpet that can never be removed. That's grooming.
Define grooming for me, Tim.
Man, oh boy.
Because I can define it right away.
Well, it's a complex answer, right?
Okay.
I want to do it right. So grooming in the simplest form, is indoctrinating a young person into a subset of ideas or ideals.
Or any person.
Or any person, right. So when we're talking about grooming children in the specific context of Drag Queen Story Hour, we're referring to the Drag Queen Story Hour Trans Pedagogy specific academic paper, which says our goal with this is to get glitter in the carpet that can never be removed. Ergo grooming these children into a gay burlesque lifestyle, which is what drag is.
So grooming is when you are trying to coerce a child into a sexual relationship with you. That's grooming.
See, that's
the actual definition of it.
Right.
But
Well,
you are giving a definition that you've invented, or that the right has invented, or that you've extrapolated, or you've added to. But that's what grooming is.
So the left actually introduced the political aspect of it, which is why I tried to be careful with you. Because
how do we introduce an aspect to it?
So when the conversation emerged around grooming, the left began mentioning the idea of politics and grooming children to politics, because the question was around...
Not into politics. It's if you were trying to coerce them into a sexual relationship with you.
That's
Can I make
the
those are
tradition.
groomers.
Those are what groomers are.
I got to make this point.
And that's
Those are the groomers.
And that's the
Traditionally, by every single standard, it was considered grooming for an adult to tell a child that their parents don't understand them, that adult has a better understanding of that child's sexual identity, and that they should take on specific sexual behaviors and characteristics. That has always been considered grooming.
You're mentioning aspects of a groomer and the things they can do to groom. But the goal of a groomer, and this is what we all have to be on the same page is, because I think we all want to protect kids, right? Ultimately, everyone in this circle
I want to
wants
protect kids.
Yes, absolutely. So we have to identify what groomers are. They want to coerce children into having sexual relationships with them. And the second thing I want to add when it comes to groomers, the majority of people who sexually assault children are family members. We should say, you should say that loud and proud, it's family members. It's like 76% is family members. And after that, it's friends and family.
What do you think about that?
But that's kind of a whataboutism, right?
Tim, I'm never going to defend individual examples that you pull up. If you pull up an example like, hey, here's a drag queen who's like doing a lap dance, like, do you think I'm going to sit here and be like, well, because I'm an NPC, the left says I have to accept this?
I just asked you what do you think?
Grooming?
I think that's inappropriate to do in front of a child. This is not what Drag Queen Story Hour is. Drag Queen Story Hour is men in wigs reading stories to kids.
Why?
Kids books.
But they're in their fetish costume.
Why does, to you it's a fetish costume.
No,
to
not to
them,
me.
it's
That's
a
why I don't wear it.
Okay,
to them it's a fetish costume.
Drag is burlesque.
Okay, let's get ahead of this one. Boys, who are some drag performers I know? Michael Knowles, Steven Crowder, Rudy Giuliani.
And?
Do you think there's...
Are they groomers?
But
Do you think
are they going up to children and introducing?
Yes, Steven Crowder has segments where he's in public and there are children and he's dressed in drag. What are you talking about?
So if you're talking about drag queens wearing costumes,
drag is a performance where a man puts on it's not only burlesque. You can be there is rated G drag. I've been to a fuck ton of drag shows. I've been to R-rated ones and I've been to G-rated ones.
Would you be in favor of burlesque story hour?
No.
Why the fuck not?
Because it's fucking not appropriate for kids, Tim. But
it's just a woman wearing a dress.
You said burlesque. You added burlesque. Burlesque is sexual dancing.
What do you think drag is?
It's not always sexual.
Neither is burlesque.
What?
Burlesque women are clothed and they dance around on stage and then they introduce...
Burlesque is sexual.
So is drag.
No, it's not. It's not always sexual. No. There's 100% drag.
No, I agree with Lance on this one.
Thank you.
You can wear a dress.
Yes, Moonlord, I love you.
You can wear a dress and make it not sexual.
No, but hold on. Not every time someone wears a dress. Not every time someone is wearing a dress is it necessarily drag.
Well, explain an instance where it wouldn't be if a guy wore a dress, like a woman's outfit.
What about
for example, I knew you were going to bring that up.
What about Super Mario Brothers, the movie?
I didn't see it.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry.
Tim, you saw it. I know you saw it.
What about it?
Super Mario Brothers movie had a drag performance in it.
What
I didn't see, but here's the thing.
Okay, so
there is a difference. There is a difference.
Is this sexual?
Oh my!
That looks like burlesque to me.
That looks closer to burlesque to me. Have you seen Drag Queen Story Hour? Have you ever seen it?
Yes, I have.
It's 100% tastefully dressed. It's people dressed in full clothing.
These women
disagree with the idea of taste.
In dresses,
fine,
in burlesque dresses,
in front of kids. That's not what Drag Queen Story Hour is, buddy. Come on.
So drag is gay burlesque.
I think what's happening
is a performance. Drag can be sexual and it can be non-sexual. That's up to the performer.
And so can burlesque.
Okay,
These
but
are
that has
just
nothing to do with
dancing.
drag. But you're talking about two separate things.
So don't make the argument that sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't when they're both sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't.
Sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it is.
Why?
For children's shows, it's tasteful and appropriate. Look at it. Like, can I pull up a YouTube video where you see the actual Drag Queen Story Hour had taken place?
Why don't I just pull up Drag Queen Story Hour?
Like, look it up on YouTube. And then go to, but pull up a real one. Don't pull up the ones where it's like, this was an inappropriate thing where I'm supposed to like try and defend it.
I didn't. I just Google searched for images. And whatever comes up, comes up. Here you go.
Okay, can you play the YouTube video, the drag queens reading to kids in libraries? And then we'll see how horrifying it is. The drag queens.
But isn't that anecdotal?
So here's the thing.
This is all anecdotal. Yeah.
I gotta make one point.
He's giving me
I was
anecdotes
told
too.
I could say bad words on the after show. Let me make this one point. All right. So with something like Mrs. Doubtfire, which is a different question in my mind, but which I wouldn't necessarily say I approve of. A man wearing women's clothing to go, oh, look at the absurdity of the situation. How funny is this? Is different from a man dressed in drag to show kids that drag is normal and good.
Is that inappropriate to you?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, and it's just the fact that it's a man dressed as a woman, even though they're completely covered.
Says Tim's a conservative. It's a right-wing show. I literally agree with you on the bathroom thing. I don't think kids should be. I don't think we should have child beauty pageants. I think.
Oh God, no.
Hooters
Those
is
are fucking
allowed to exist.
Yeah.
But I don't think parents should bring their kids to Hooters.
I agree. They shouldn't.
And drag
I don't
queen
think
story
Hooters
hour is
should
allowed to exist.
But no,
and
you
I
don't think it should be allowed to
people-
exist, and you categorize it as
what?
grooming. You can't it's not grooming. Grooming is it's like the drag queens who are
Hold on.
reading to the children.
Yeah.
Are they trying to fuck the kids?
No,
Hold on,
here's the thing
someone
about
trying
grooming.
but there's someone trying to inculcate somebody
they're
into
trying
a
to fuck the
perverse
kids,
sexual
then I'm
lifestyle for their
against
own
it.
sexual gratification is grooming.
But you think it's perverted because you don't agree with LGBTQ plus people, and you see them all as inherently sexual.
No, I don't agree with LGBTQ plus people because I think it's perverted. It's
Right,
backwards.
but okay, sure, but that's not fair because they're not.
Yes, they are.
Why have drag queens around?
They're not using their body.
What's the A in the rainbow? What's the A?
Wait, LGBTQIA
Plus, what's the A?
There's two A's.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
There's two
Anyone?
A's. Well, hold on, Lance. There's two of them.
Okay.
Dude, it keeps
And
changing.
what do they
I don't
mean?
know.
No, it's agender and asexual.
Agender is one, yeah.
Come on, don't be disrespectful.
Tim's too woke for the show.
I know.
You, Seamus, asexuals are perverted? Did you hear yourself?
Yeah.
How?
If you have absolutely no desire for sexuality, there's something wrong with you psychologically.
How is that perverted?
Because there's something wrong with your sexuality.
How do you
I think you're
define
misunderstanding perverted.
Okay.
So to pervert something is to not use something for its proper function or for it to not function properly. And so someone who's asexual
I've
does
never
not
heard
have
it
proper...
perverted defined that way.
No, but that's what perverted means, right?
Is it?
You've perverted. It's usually
I thought
applied
it
to
was always-
sexuality, but you've perverted the meaning of the word. Have you ever
Let me-
heard
let me-
that?
turn away from
let me
what
tell you
is
something.
proper, basically.
Perverted dictionary characterized by sexual abnormalities, unacceptable practices, and tendencies.
That definition always
Okay.
definition also applies because I'm talking specifically about sexual behavior. So
Asexuals
of
are
course
not
that's how I'm
sexual.
using perverted.
They're not sexual at all.
No,
Lance,
every human being has
can
a
you look at this
sexuality.
picture?
I'm sorry to tell you.
No, how is that inappropriate? That they're wearing
Are you kidding?
Because it's satanic?
No, it's the rainbow, the Christian indoctrination of God's covenant.
you.
This is what Club Q is doing.
No, it's not.
They had an
This is not
all
Club
ages
Q.
drag event. I know it's not Club Q.
Club Q
did
every
not have
Sun-
drag queen
Club-
story hour. They had an
Club
all
Q-
ages drag event.
Club Q had a Sunday event every Sunday. There was drag queen story hour where they read to children. I see photos of it. It is books to kids. You pulled up some of them. It is reading stories to kids. That is not people trying to fuck children. This is really dangerous because the actual people trying to fuck kids get a pass with all this shit.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
No.
All of you.
Who the fuck gets
Who's
a pass?
giving them a pass?
Here's how.
Who's giving them a pass?
Here's how.
Hold on.
All of you are going after people who don't actually genuinely want to fuck kids, and the actual kid fuckers are standing on the sidelines being like, everyone's going after all these queers. This is
you
fucking
high?
awesome. This is amazing.
Bro,
They're all going after
you're in
queers.
a bubble, dude.
Oh, yeah, well, no, I'm the only one bursting your bubble here.
No, you're in a bubble.
Here's-
We literally talk about how child beauty pageants are bad on the show.
They are bad.
We talk
Yes.
about how kids shouldn't be going to Hooters, but you live in a
Yes.
world where you don't hear what we are saying.
I've listened to every single word of it, and we probably agree on a lot of this. What I'm saying is that the actual pedophiles, they are 76% on average, family members, then friends, then close
And
relatives,
teachers.
and teachers, and Catholic priests, and
And we
motherfuckers
talk about it.
who were close to them.
And we do talk about it.
Yeah,
but
that's
it's
true.
not how
But
many.
just because we're
what's the
talking
stats-
about
what's
one
the stats
thing
on
right
drag
now
queen?
with you,
right? So what's
doesn't
the
mean we
stats?
don't talk about those things.
So what's the stats on drag queens sexually abusing children?
That's
Pull them
not
up.
the issue we're talking
Of course
about.
it is, because if that's a problem, I will call it out.
We're
if
talking
there's
about
a bunch of drag queens
Drag Queen
abusing,
Story Hour's intention to get the glitter in the carpet that can never be removed.
right? So you are talking about
So
them
grooming-
indoctrinating kids into a queer lifestyle. That's what you're scared of. That's
Which is
different.
sex.
But that's
It's a
sex.
sexual
It's
thing.
not.
It's sex for
not.
kids. You want sex for kids.
You think it is inherently sexual, but it's not. That's insane.
And now finally the moment you've all been waiting for, the moment of strange. This is the part where I started to talk about how I don't believe there's any way for me to be able to indoctrinate a straight person into becoming gay. It doesn't matter if I show them just the most incredible, juiciest, exquisite gay porn of all time. There's no way that it's going to turn a straight person to become gay. And just the same way that basically there wouldn't be gay people who exist in general if it was for the fact that all media, all representation in culture, songs, music, movies, poetry, you name it, all of it is usually heteronormative in large part, and still gay people exist. It's the same thing with cisnormativity. There wouldn't be any trans people at all throughout all of human history if the very idea of being able to become cis or trans existed. I don't think there's any amount of indoctrination or any exposure to a huge amount of, say, trans media, social media, TikTok, algorithms, no matter what. There's nothing that can be done that'll turn me trans, just like a trans person can't be turned cis. Conversion therapy doesn't work. It's a form of torture. This is probably the wildest part of the entire debate. It's probably going to be the last one that I can show you, because after that it's phone calls, and then I'll do a little conclusion as to why I don't think it's appropriate for me to be showing you the calls themselves.
Drag Queen Story Hour for kids where they're wearing full clothing and just reading children's stories, that is not inherently sexual.
So question, indoctrinating kids into a queer lifestyle, if
can't.
that's, you say you can't?
You can't. You cannot turn a kid queer.
But teaching a kid about, I guess, gay sex or gay, not necessarily sex, gay lifestyle.
Hey,
Do you believe
is
gender is a
that-
social construct?
of course it is.
Okay, so then if gender is merely a social construct and we behave the way we do because society tells us to with respect to our sexuality, how could you say someone couldn't be groomed into an LGBTQ lifestyle?
Okay, so you guys are all straight, right?
Yeah.
Everyone here straight?
Straight.
Yeah,
Hell straight.
yeah.
Fucking yeah, straight.
Straight
men.
I look at
I'm
it
also,
as a scale.
I'm also a grown man. I'm also a grown man.
I've touched penis in my life.
Come on,
I'm not
come on.
afraid to
But
admit it.
It's not turning me gay. It's not working. Hey,
I'm not being because I'm also a grown man and who was
here's-
not
you
interfered
should
with
have
by a
brought that up
pervert
on
when
the
I was a
show.
kid.
right, but okay, so here's my point. You're all straight. Do you watch straight porn to become more straight?
I don't watch porn.
No, I
Okay,
watch it
okay,
because
you don't watch porn. But like, do you have to be indoctrinated by straight shit all day to stay straight?
Studies do show that pornography does change people's sexual appetites. They'll move into harder and harder core shit.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, well then let's skip porn.
That's
But
actually-
no, but that's a good point because that refutes your whole argument that
No, no,
someone's
no, my
sexuality is static
argument-
and doesn't
my
change based on
argument
external stimuli.
My argument is that you're all straight and nothing can change that. I can show you all endless gay porn and none of you will turn gay, right?
I don't know,
I don't
dude. It
agree with
happens
that.
in prison,
Hold on.
You
dude.
think you would turn gay if I showed you gay porn?
Sometimes I'll be looking at porn and an ad will come up of a trans woman jerking off, and I'm like, if I had to look at that all the time, I would be thinking about that.
Okay,
And
but
that might make me go look
But that
for
doesn't make
stuff.
you
Maybe
gay. If
you're
it's a
just
trans
gay.
woman, you're not gay. If you're attracted to trans women, you're not gay.
That is
no.
gay.
So,
It's man,
hold
they got a
on,
penis.
hold on, Seamus.
Oh, God,
Don't be
the
rude.
after-hours show is wild.
If you suck a trans woman's penis, is that gay?
It's not. No, you're sucking a woman's penis.
Stop.
Yeah,
gay.
I know.
Stop.
I'm blowing minds. Hey,
Now, remember
I'm
what you
blowing
said
minds.
earlier about
Yes.
me not really believing
Dude, you're in a
that
cult,
a
man.
man could go
Like-
into the woman's room? Like you were telling me there's no way you really believe Blair
Bro,
White's a man.
do you-
Blair White is a
what do
man.
you
You
think-
really
what-
believe
hold on,
that
hold on.
doing that could be straight?
What do you think would happen?
You're right,
I can't
you're
hear
right.
you all.
All right,
I can't hear. Okay?
fair. What do you-
Everyone's getting too excited.
What do you think would happen if you walked into MGM National Harbor and said out loud to a bunch of people, it is not gay to suck a trans woman's dick? Do you think any of those people would agree with you?
Probably not.
None of them would.
But they'd be wrong.
You are in a cult.
Wait, if I was like, hey,
If everyone else is wrong but you, smell your boot.
Tim.
suck my dick, and he was like, I'm not gay, and I was like, I'm a woman, it's okay.
Yeah.
He'd still be gay if he sucked my dick.
Yeah, because you're a man.
That would be a gay.
Because you're a man.
But if I identified as a woman that day,
Are you femme presenting?
Does that matter?
Well,
We can't have hot or not, can we?
I
Can't have-
could.
can't have hot or not.
He brought up a trans woman.
although
who I
Blair
assume-
White, sometimes I'm like banging body. That's a dude.
But that doesn't make you gay.
I agree.
That doesn't make you gay.
I agree.
Did you think you're gay if you're attracted to Blair White?
I'm not attracted to Blair White.
Okay, if you were attracted to Blair White, does that make you gay?
Yes.
No, it's the physical form.
I think even Blair White said.
Even Seamus doesn't agree with this now. Or maybe
No,
you
no,
do.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
okay.
Yeah, Blair White's a man.
What?
Yeah.
You both think you're gay if you're attracted to Blair White.
I don't
I think that
Yeah.
Blair.
It
I
depends
think
on what
that
you mean by
Blair White.
attracted
Hold on.
to.
I think that Blair White presents with a lot of features that are traditionally feminine and normally attractive to men. But once you know Blair White is a man, if that doesn't like bother you as a heterosexual man, you're not actually a heterosexual man.
Oh, wow. This is
Yeah.
wild.
How's that wild?
I'll return
What's
to my
wild?
bubble.
Like,
I'll
what
return
is-
to my bubble.
You
This
can
is- you know-
say
you know-
that's wild, but you
but you
can't
know-
tell me why.
You know what the weird
You're
thing
not.
is?
You're not gay, and don't worry. You're fine.
Like the smell matters a whole lot too, and women have a distinct smell. Like you ever smell girl pillow?
Yeah, pheromones.
I don't know if it's pheromones or whatever, but like
I think it's probably like a perfume you're smelling, not
no,
pheromone.
no, it's a scientific fact that when there's this great documentary called The Science of Sex, they had men run on treadmills, took their shirts off, put them in jars, and then had women come in later and smell the shirts.
That's disgusting.
And the women would rate them based on if they smelled good or bad.
Okay.
And the men they were related to, they said smelled bad, and the men they weren't said they said smelled good.
Okay.
These were not perfumes or anything. It was just the
Just
men.
pheromones.
Maybe, or just their sweat or whatever.
Okay.
So there's a lot more to attraction than just someone's body. I think clothes and style
Oh, sure, of course
matter
there is.
greatly.
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
but my point remains. I don't think you're gay if you're attracted to a trans woman. That's well documented at this point.
Well,
you're
sure,
attracted to
you're
the
homosexual.
femininity.
You're a
No,
homosexual.
You're not. No, you're attracted to the femininity of her. You're
But
still
We're
straight.
outside of whatever that meant,
Right.
a male who is attracted to a male is a homosexual.
Oh yeah, of course.
So that would make you a homosexual.
But this is not a male. That's the
But
point.
they have a penis. That's male.
They could have a penis. They could not. That's irrelevant to this.
Well, I mean, like, if the person is overwhelmingly male and you're attracted to them, like, then you're homosexual.
no gay man is attracted to Blair White.
I don't think you're right.
Okay.
It's just simply put, it's too absolute to say. But also,
I was actually
like,
talking to Blair in the sauna
It
about
gets
that
circular, too.
a month ago. I was asking her because she was dating a guy, and I was like, "So is he gay?"
She's dating a straight
Yeah,
guy.
she was like, "No, he's not gay."
Of course
I was
not.
like, "Oh,
Of course
okay."
not. A gay guy wants a man. A gay guy wants a manly looking figure, not a very feminine looking woman.
But do you think a man or woman is defined by their figure?
Not entirely, but their presentation plays into your attractiveness of them. Or sorry, your how much you're attracted to them, of course.
So wait. If Ian were to hook up with Buck Angel, is he gay?
Yes.
No.
But you can't be hot or not. That's not fair.
No,
He is.
fucking an ugly woman.
No,
is
hold
not
on.
gay.
That's not fair to say
Not that
fucking.
you're ugly. I'm saying.
Buck Angel is a very masculine looking dude.
So you're saying-
so if he was attracted to Buck Angel, that would be because he was a gay man who wants a muscular dude.
But what if there's a woman who identifies as a woman and she's very masculine looking and she's got some stubble and facial hair growing? You'd be gay if you had sex with her?
No, she's still a woman. She's still woman presenting.
No. I'm saying someone who is like. To the
So
point
she
where,
looks
is
like a
that-
man.
Is that a woman? You'd be gay if you had sex with a woman who looked manly? That's
yeah,
offensive to them.
you're finally crossing into territory where I don't know the answer.
Well, yeah, because gay is it's not like black and white.
What does
like,
bisexual mean?
someone who's attracted to both genders.
Genders. It's bisexual,
only
not by
two
gender.
genders?
No,
Gender.
you're attracted to both genders. You're attracted to both the opposite gender and your own gender.
What does pan mean?
Pan means you're attracted to all genders.
So there's two of them.
There's non-binary people as well.
So you could be attracted. So what's the non-binary mean?
Non-binaries, you don't identify as either a man or a woman. You're not on the binary.
But does my attraction predicate upon what someone identifies as?
Your attraction is most likely based on a bunch of social cues that you've grown up learning that you like, such as I
So-
like feminine, I like big breasts.
I thought someone
like
can't be
big
made
ass.
clear though, because you
Okay,
saying
so
you
hold
learned
on.
about this growing up, but
So
it sounds like it's not innate.
If there is, let's say Blair White, someone look just like Blair White says, "I'm a man," and then Ian was like, "I'd like to date you." Would Ian be gay?
If Blair White was like, I'm not only
If Blair White literally said, "I'm a man," would Ian be gay for dating Blair White?
he would be attracted to her feminine. So that would be a man who has a feminine presentation. So he's attracted to the feminine presentation. So he's still straight.
But even though the person's like, I'm a guy.
Yeah, you can identify as a man and have a feminine presentation, and vice versa. There's femboys. That's what femboys are.
Here's where it breaks.
When she takes her pants off,
the
that's
issue
when it
is,
breaks.
if you're looking at someone from afar, being attracted to their identity makes no sense if you don't know their identity. How could you be attracted to it?
So you're attracted to their presentation.
My
Yeah,
question
so-
is, what makes you gay? Is it being attracted to
you're-
someone of the same sex, or
Yes.
fucking someone of the same sex that you're
Both.
not attracted to?
No. The first one.
So it's just the attraction itself, not the
of course.
action.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like,
Let's-
ideally you want to at some point fulfill those desires consensually with a partner.
Do you want to take audience questions?
I'm not going to show it because at the end of the day, the people who were calling in didn't know that I would eventually use this footage for my own purposes. So I don't think it's fair for me to put them on broadcast on a leftist channel. They thought they were calling into a private Tim Pool show, and I don't think it's fair for me to broadcast it. So at this time, that's the extent of the uncensored, kind of outrageous secondhand debate. I actually really liked a lot of parts of the second debate, even though it was kind of unhinged at many points, because at the end of the day, I think it got to some core issues. They basically admitted that they see anything LGBTQ+, even if it's asexuality, as inherently sexual or perverted. And ultimately, that's the biggest reason that they have fears of things like Drag Queen Story Hour. It's not the very act of being a drag queen or even dressing in drag, because as you know, Jordan Peterson, Steven Crowder, Rudy Giuliani, Michael Knowles, you name it, every every single one of them at one point or another is doing drag, and it was never seen as an inherently terrible or perverted thing. It was just seen as a form of performance, just like it is for drag queens who happen to be members of the LGBTQ plus community. Ultimately, it really goes to show that their fears are unfounded. Their fears are not grounded in reality. They are irrational fears of what they don't understand. And they seem to think that everything happens to be inherently sexual if it's queer. And if I'm being totally honest, I think a lot of that has to do with their browser history.
Thank you kindly to our Lord and Saviors Peyton L. Just and Xander Corvus. Without you, we are nothing. And now, a shout out to our Knights of the Square Table. Amazing Flesh, Anna Loves Riley, Adrian McCarthy, DM Rivera, Doug Cady, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Izzy Solidarity, La Media Panza, Matthew Scarborough, Multimondi, Nettle, Omni, Peanut Butter Blonde, Political Papi, Quiet 185, Rachel K, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Kubi, Cernicus, Spinach Monster, Stellar Vision, Sebastian Demmel, Thomas, Trevbot EXE, Lucidry, Words Greenwood, Cheryl Alvarez, Tony Perkins, Thomas, O'Pecker, Travis McClinton, and Victoria Bell. Thank you so much. And a huge shout out to all the other people who make this entire show possible. Without you, it would not exist. If you can support us, please go to patreon.com/theserfs, and even $1 can help unlock all of the little goodies and help make this show entirely possible.